I didn't sign up for this, Sienna's text read, paired with a screenshot of our drained joint account. You're on your own, Torin. 5 words, 1 stab. I'm Torin. 35 years old, chief mechanic at Harlan's Auto Repair in Missoula. 2 hours earlier, I'd been sitting in a doctor's office, hearing words like sarcoma and radiation and recovery odds. Stage 2. Treatable, but a grueling path ahead. I called Sienna from the parking lot, told her to meet me at home so we could talk. She said she was swamped, had meetings, would be back later. Her voice was clipped like I was an inconvenience. When I got home, half the closet was bare. Her bags gone. Our anniversary photo missing from the dresser. A post-it note stuck to the mirror read, "I deserve better." Then the text came, along with the screenshot showing she'd transferred our entire savings, $52,000, 0 cents, we'd scraped together over 7 years, to an account with only her name on it. I stared at the message for a full minute, typed back 2 words, "Be safe." Then I put my phone down, grabbed the ginger ale, and sat on our back deck watching dusk settle. Didn't cry, didn't break anything. I just sat there, feeling the weight of everything shift. The cancer I could confront. The betrayal was something else entirely. Gideon from next door saw me sitting there and walked over to the fence. "Everything all right? Saw Sienna tear out of here earlier with her car stuffed full." "Got some health news," I said. "She didn't take it well. Looked like she was fleeing a crime scene," he muttered, shaking his head. Gideon nodded, not prying further. "Let me know if you need anything. Mara makes a stellar pot pie." "Thanks," I said. After he left, I went inside and pulled out the folder my Uncle Desmond had given me last month. He'd retired from trust law in 2023, but still advised on the side. When my grandfather passed in April and left me that small parcel of land near Kalispell, Desmond had helped me organize the paperwork. "Everyone needs their affairs in order," he'd said, "especially when you're married. Protect each other." I'd started the process, updated my will, listed Sienna as co-owner on the 71 Charger I'd restored, though I hadn't filed the final paperwork with the DMV yet. Set up a secondary account at a different bank for the land sale proceeds when that went through. I trusted her completely, even ignored her late-night calls with clients. All to protect us, to protect her. Funny how things work out. I picked up my phone and called Desmond. When he answered, I said, "Remember that conversation we had about estate planning? I need to make some changes." There was a pause. "Everything okay, Torin?" "She's gone, Desmond. Took everything," I whispered, voice breaking. "No," I said, "but it will be." I met Sienna at my friend Jasper's wedding in 2017. She was a court clerk at a firm in downtown Missoula. Clever, sharp-tongued, radiant. We moved in together 7 months later, married the year after that. The first few years were strong. We saved for a home, bought a fixer-upper in a solid neighborhood. I spent weekends rewiring outlets, patching drywall, installing new insulation. Sienna chose light fixtures and rug, posted before and after photos online, called us a remodel victory. She'd captioned them, my dream life, but never mentioned my sweat. My dad died when I was 11. Mom raised me and my sister on a librarian's salary, taught us to grind, live frugally, and always have a fallback plan. After Mom passed 4 years ago, that fallback plan became even more vital to me. Sienna came from different stock. Her parents covered everything. Law school, a new sedan every few years, a hefty chunk of our down payment. They never understood why she married a mechanic. Her dad, a patent attorney, always introduced me as Sienna's husband rather than using my name. At dinners, he'd smirk, "Sienna could have had anyone." Looking back, I see the cracks started forming well before my diagnosis. 5 months ago, Sienna started talking about moving to Boise, said there were better prospects there. I resisted. My job was secure. We had a community here. The house was nearly paid off. She got silent after those discussions, distant. Spent more time with friends I'd never met. Her phone buzzed constantly, lacked with a new passcode. Then came the small comments that stung more than they should have. "Don't you want to do more with your life than wrench on cars? My law school friend's husband just landed a VP role. They're buying a ski chalet. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd moved to Salt Lake City after graduation instead of staying here." "You're holding me back, Torin," she snapped one night. I ignored the signs. Told myself every marriage has rocky patches, that we'd sort it out. When I found the flyer for an apartment complex in Boise tucked in her briefcase next to a scribbled note saying, "New life, new me," I still didn't confront her. Just quietly called my Uncle Desmond to discuss updating our legal paperwork. Started cataloging our assets, just in case. 2 weeks later, I went to the doctor for what I thought was a stubborn cough. Found the swollen nodes instead. Then the blood tests. The biopsy. The night before my final diagnosis, Sienna and I had dinner at our kitchen counter. She talked about a colleague's new case. I watched her face, wondering if she'd noticed the fear in mine. "Everything okay?" she finally asked. "Yeah," I lied. "Just drained." She nodded and kept eating. Didn't probe further. Didn't really look at me. "You're always so quiet lately," she sighed, annoyed. That should have told me everything I needed to know. 5 days after Sienna left, I started chemotherapy. First session hit me harder than I expected. The nurse showed me to a recliner, hooked up the IV, and asked if my ride was in the waiting room. "Took an Uber," I said. "My wife's out of state." She gave me a look I couldn't quite read, then patted my arm. "First one's the toughest. You'll get through this." "You're stronger than you know," she whispered, her eyes soft with pity. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Hadn't told anyone except Gideon next door that Sienna was gone for good, not just out of state. Somehow saying it aloud would make it more real. More shameful. When I got home, there was a pot pie on my front porch with a note from Gideon's wife. "Made too much. Enjoy." Scratched in pen, "We're praying for you." I knew it was a lie, but I appreciated it anyway. I tried to eat, but couldn't keep anything down. Ended up on the bathroom floor, sweating and shaking, alone. The mirror reflected a stranger. Gaunt, hollow-eyed, betrayed. That night I called my sister Freya in Helena. Told her everything. The cancer, Sienna, the money. She wanted to drive over immediately. I asked her to wait. Needed to sort some things out first. "He's a coward, Torin. How could she?" Freya sobbed, her voice raw. The next morning I called my bank. Discovered Sienna had emptied our accounts 40 minutes after I called her from the doctor's office. Before she even knew the details. Just knew I was sick, and that was enough for her to run. Something shifted inside me. The sorrow hardened into something else. Not anger exactly. Determination. I drove to my Uncle Desmond's house that afternoon. Brought all our financial documents, property records, everything. "She can't just take your money like that," he said, reviewing the statements. "Joint account," I reminded him. "Her name's on it too." Desmond took off his reading glasses. "Torin, what she did wasn't just cruel. It might have been illegal. Taking all the money when she knows you're sick, knows you'll have medical bills." "She planned this, didn't she?" I asked, my fist clenched. "Can I prove that? That she knew?" He thought for a moment. "Phone records would show you called her right after your appointment. The bank statement shows when she made the transfer. If you documented your diagnosis date," I pulled out my phone, showed him the text she'd sent. "I didn't sign up for this." Desmond's expression hardened. "That's pretty damning." "It's a confession," he growled, slamming the table. We spent the next 3 hours mapping out a strategy. The Charger title change, the land sale, my medical insurance and treatment costs. Documenting everything. When I left Desmond's house, my phone buzzed. Email from Sienna's cousin Bryn, who'd always been friendly to me. "Torin, I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. I don't know what Sienna is thinking. Just wanted you to know I'm here if you need anything." "She's bragging about her new life already," Bryn added, her words like a knife. I stared at the message for a long time, then replied, "Does Sienna know about my diagnosis?" Bryn's response came quickly. "Yes. She told everyone you have cancer, but said she couldn't handle it and needed a fresh start. My whole family is shocked. This isn't right." I thanked her and put my phone away. Drove home with the windows down, feeling the autumn air on my face. For the first time since the diagnosis, I felt clarity. I knew exactly what I needed to do. 4 weeks into treatment, I got a letter from Sienna's lawyer. She wanted a divorce, cited irreconcilable differences, requested to be removed from the mortgage but wanted half the equity in the house, said nothing about the money she'd already taken, nothing about my illness. A handwritten note from Sienna was clipped to it. "Let's end this cleanly, Torin." I took the letter to Desmond. Pretty bold, he said, scanning the document. Takes all your savings knowing you're sick, then wants half the house too. She's playing victim now, he scoffed, tossing the note aside. What should I do? Don't respond yet, Desmond advised. Let's see how far she wants to push this. The next day I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Torin, it's Sienna. This is my new number. I know you're upset, but we need to figure this out. My lawyer says I'm entitled to half the house. Stop fighting me or it'll get ugly, she added. I didn't respond. 3 days later, another text. Torin, being childish won't help. I know you're going through stuff, but I have rights too. Going through stuff, like cancer, was a bad mood I needed to get over. I blocked the number. My third chemo session hit me hard. Couldn't keep food down for 2 days. Lost 13 pounds. Freya finally came over from Helena, stayed for a week, cleaned the house, stocked the pantry with meals, drove me to appointments. The day before she left, we got another letter from Sienna's lawyer. More demands, more threats about what I owed her. Freya was furious. After what she did? She's lucky you haven't taken her to court for the money she stole. I'd drag her through court myself if I could, she spat, crumpling the letter. We'll get there, I said. The following week, I received a certified letter from the bank. Sienna had tried to remove my name from our joint credit cards, but couldn't without my signature. She'd also attempted to access our safe deposit box, the one containing the deed to the house, the charger title, and my grandfather's will. The bank had denied her access when she couldn't produce the second key, my key. A bank teller whispered she'd thrown a fit, screaming my name. I called Desmond immediately. She's getting desperate, he said, probably realized she left loose ends. What's my next move? Let's close that safe deposit box. Move everything to a new one in your name only, and I think it's time to file those title changes for the charger. I took a sick day though. Every day was a sick day now. Went to the bank, closed the box, opened a new one. Went to the DMV, removed Sienna's name from the title that had never been finalized. That night, another text from a new number. You changed the charger title? That car is half mine. You put my name on it. You're stealing from me, Torin, she accused, venom in every word. I stared at the message. How did she know already? I'd only filed the paperwork that morning. Then it clicked. She must have someone at the DMV feeding her information, or the bank, someone watching my moves. I called Desmond. I think she has help, someone telling her what I'm doing. Desmond was quiet for a moment. Her father has connections. Wouldn't put it past him. He's probably pulling strings to bury you, he warned. What do I do? Feed them wrong information, Desmond said. Let's set a trap. The next day, I called the realtor who'd been handling my grandfather's land sale, asked her to pause the process, made sure to mention on the call that I was exploring other options for liquidating assets. I left a fake voicemail about selling the charger for extra bait. Then I called my investment bank where I had a small 401k from a previous job, asked about early withdrawal procedures, made it clear I was considering all options due to medical bills. I waited to see what Sienna would do next. 2 days later, her lawyer sent a new letter demanding a portion of any proceeds from the sale of inherited property and a fair division of all retirement accounts. Desmond smiled when I showed him the letter. She took the bait. She's walking right into our hands, he chuckled darkly. Now what? I asked. Now we show our cards, he said. I spent the next month focusing on my health. The treatments were brutal, but the doctors seemed cautiously optimistic. My hair was gone. I'd lost 32 pounds, but my numbers were improving. Freya came over every other weekend. Gideon and Mara from next door checked on me daily. My boss cut my hours but kept my health insurance active. I was surviving, both the cancer and Sienna's departure. Some days were harder than others. Some nights I woke up reaching for someone who wasn't there. Her perfume still lingered on her pillow, mocking me, but mostly, I stayed focused on the next step, the next treatment, the next move in the chess game Sienna had started. Desmond called on a Wednesday morning. We got the documents from her bank. Want to guess what she did with your money? Tell me. Transferred it to a new account, then immediately wrote a check for $45,000, 0 cents to her parents. I sat down. Why would she do that? My guess? Trying to hide it, make it harder to trace or recover. She's been plotting this for months, Desmond hissed, his voice tight. Can she do that? No, Desmond said. That's the beauty of it. She transferred joint funds during a known medical crisis, then tried to hide the money through a third party. The judge is going to hate that. I thought about it. I don't want a long court battle, Desmond. I don't have the energy for that right now. Trust me, it won't get that far. Once her lawyer sees what we have, they'll settle. 2 days later, I was leaving my treatment when I spotted a familiar car in the hospital parking lot. Gray Lexus. Sienna's father. He was sitting behind the wheel, watching the hospital entrance. Watching for me. His eyes narrowed like I was prey. I walked straight to his car. Knocked on the window. He rolled it down, face composed in that lawyer mask I knew well. Torin, you look unwell. Cancer will do that. Why are you here? Sienna is concerned, says you're being unreasonable about the divorce proceedings. I almost laughed. Is that what she calls it? Unreasonable? She's trying to save you from yourself, he sneered, venom dripping. She's prepared to be generous given your situation. A fair division of assets, including the house. After she took every cent we had? After she left the day I was diagnosed? He had the decency to look uncomfortable. She was distraught, emotional. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. He sighed. Torin, be practical. You're sick. You need to focus on getting better, not fighting a legal battle you can't afford. That's when it hit me. They thought I was desperate. Thought I was broke after Sienna cleaned out our accounts. Thought I'd take any settlement just to avoid a fight. They had no idea about the land sale. No idea I'd removed her name from the charger title before she could claim it. No idea I'd documented everything. Tell Sienna I'll have my response to her lawyer by Tuesday, I said, turning to leave. Torin, he called after me. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. You'll regret crossing us, he muttered under his breath. I didn't look back. On Monday, I met with Desmond and the real estate lawyer he'd brought in, Linnea Voss. We reviewed everything. The bank records showing Sienna's withdrawal immediately after my diagnosis. Her text message. The witness statement from Bryn confirming Sienna knew about my cancer. The check to her parents. This is clear-cut financial abandonment, Linnea said. Plus, the attempt to conceal marital assets. No judge will look kindly on this. Her family's arrogance will be their downfall, she added, smirking. So what's our move? I asked. We file our own divorce action, she said. We demonstrate abandonment during medical crisis, financial malfeasance, and attempted concealment of funds. We request full recovery of the missing funds plus legal fees. Will that work? I asked. Linnea smiled. I've never seen a cleaner case, but I don't think it will get that far. Once they see what we have, they'll fold. And if they don't, then we go to court, and she loses everything, including her reputation. For the first time in months, I felt something like hope. On Tuesday morning, Linnea sent our response to Sienna's lawyer, a complete divorce filing with all the evidence attached. Bank records, text messages, witness statements, medical documentation, everything laid out in cold, clear detail. By noon, Sienna's lawyer requested an emergency meeting. That was fast, I told Desmond over the phone. They weren't expecting you to have ammunition, he said. They thought you'd crumble, he said, his voice fierce. They thought you were too sick, too broke, or too beaten down to fight back. The meeting was set for Thursday. I spent the weekend resting, preparing mentally. On Wednesday night, I got a text from yet another new number. This is cruel, Torin. I made a mistake, but this is vindictive. My parents can't give the money back right now. You're trying to destroy me. You're ruining my future, she wailed in a follow-up voice message. I stared at the screen. Vindictive? I wasn't the one who abandoned a sick spouse and stole their life savings. I wasn't the one hiding behind lawyers and parents. For the first time, I texted back. Actions have consequences. Thursday morning, I met Desmond and Linnea at her office. They wanted me there but advised me to say nothing unless directly asked a question. Sienna arrived with her father and her lawyer, a wiry man with a polished watch and a forced smile. She looked good, tanned, rested, like the past few months had been a retreat while I'd been fighting for my life. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Her hands trembled, betraying her calm facade. Her lawyer spoke first. We've reviewed your filing. While we disagree with your characterization of events, My client is willing to negotiate a settlement to avoid unnecessary conflict. Linnea smiled. Let me be clear. This isn't a negotiation. It's a courtesy meeting before we proceed to court. Your client abandoned her husband upon his cancer diagnosis, emptied their joint accounts, attempted to hide those funds through her parents, and then demanded additional assets. We have documented everything. Sienna shifted in her seat. Her father leaned forward. Surely we can reach a reasonable... Your daughter transferred her husband's medical emergency fund to you. Linnea cut in. We have the check records. Will you be returning those funds today, or shall we add you to the lawsuit for accepting fraudulently obtained marital assets? You're threatening my family, he barked, face red. The room went silent. Sienna's lawyer cleared his throat. What exactly are you demanding? Linnea laid out our terms. Full return of the $52,000 0 cents. Sienna to relinquish all claims to the house, the charger, my grandfather's land, and my retirement account. She would assume responsibility for all legal fees. In exchange, I would not pursue criminal charges for financial fraud and abandonment. This is robbery, Sienna's father muttered. No, Linnea replied calmly. Robbery is what your daughter did. This is justice. The meeting ended with Sienna's lawyer asking for 48 hours to consider our terms. As we left the conference room, Sienna tried to catch my eye. She mouthed, I'm sorry, but I saw no regret. I walked past her without slowing down. In the elevator, Desmond squeezed my shoulder. You did good in there. I didn't do anything, I said, just sat there. Sometimes that's the hardest part, he replied. 2 days later, Linnea called. Sienna had accepted all our terms. Her parents would return the full $52,000 0 cents within 60 days. She would sign the papers, relinquishing all claims to our property. It's over, Linnea said. You won. Her family's in chaos, she added, voice triumphant. But it didn't feel like winning. It felt like the end of something I once thought would last forever. Like closing a book halfway through the story. Still, for the first time since my diagnosis, I slept through the night. The settlement money arrived exactly 60 days later, a cashier's check for the full $52,000, 0 cents. I deposited it immediately, then called my oncologist's office to pay down my medical bills. The nurse who'd been with me from the first treatment, Kaylin, was at the front desk when I arrived. You're looking better, she said. Numbers came back good last week. You're a fighter, she said, her smile warm. Feel better too, I said, handing over the check. She glanced at the amount. Insurance came through? Something like that. The divorce was finalized a week later. I signed the papers at Linnea's office, feeling strangely empty. Not sad, not angry, just done. What now? Desmond asked as we left the building. Finish treatment, get better, figure out what's next. He nodded. The land sale should close next month. That's another $95,000. 0 cents. And if you decide to sell the charger? Not yet, I said. I'm not ready to let go of everything. That evening, I sat on my back deck with a glass of sparkling water, watching the sunset. The nausea from chemo had finally subsided. My hair was starting to grow back, sparse, but there. The doctors were using words like encouraging response and positive outlook. My phone buzzed. Email from Sienna's cousin Bryn. Torin, I heard everything's finalized. I'm so sorry for what my family did to you. Sienna's parents are selling their Flathead Lake cabin to cover the money they owe you. My aunt is furious, blaming you instead of Sienna. But I wanted you to know some of us understand what really happened. I hope you're doing better. You deserve that much. Sienna's spreading lies about you, she warned, her tone urgent. I put my phone away without replying. Didn't need to engage with Sienna's family drama anymore. It was time to focus on healing, on rebuilding, on whatever came next. 8 months later, my oncologist said the words I'd been waiting for. Complete remission. I sat in her office, letting the news sink in. Not cured. Sarcoma could always come back. But for now, the cancer was gone, the battle won. What happens now, I asked. Regular checkups, blood work, scans every 6 months. But for now, Torin, you go live your life. You've earned it, she said, her eyes shining. That evening, I made 2 calls. First to Freya, who cheered loud enough to wake her neighbors. Then to my buddy Zane in Bozeman, who'd been offering me a job at his custom auto shop for years. "Still got space for me?" I asked. "Damn right," he said. "When can you start?" A month later, I sold the house in Missoula, used the money to buy a small lodge outside Bozeman. 2 bedrooms, a garage big enough for my tools and the charger, and mountains framing every window. The day I drove out of Missoula, Gideon and Mara from next door came to say goodbye. Mara handed me a pot pie for the road. I thanked them for everything: the meals, the snow shoveling, the quiet support when I needed it most. "You doing okay?" Gideon asked. "Really okay," I thought about it. "Getting there. You're tougher than she ever was," Mara said softly. 5 months into my new life in Montana, I got a text from an unknown number. "Sienna again. I heard you're in remission. I'm glad. I know you won't believe this, but I think about you often. I made a terrible mistake. I was scared and selfish. I'm sorry, Torin. For everything." A voicemail followed. "Please, can we talk? I'm drowning." I read it twice, considering whether to respond. In the end, I typed back just 4 words. "I survived. Be well." Then I blocked the number, put my phone away, and went to work on the charger, not to sell it anymore, to keep it, to restore it again, this time just for me. Some things once broken can't be fixed, but others can be rebuilt, stronger than before. I was one of them.